Nachos Amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together to share music with each other, an album at a time, something akin to a book club, but for music. I'm Petey Rave, and here with me is my crew, my gang, my squad, my quorum. We've got David.
Hi, everybody.
We've got Brett.
Well, hello. I'm here with my friend, Old Toby, everybody's favorite pipeweed from the Shire.
Yes. And we've got Drew.
Hello.
Who's gone evil.
Hanging out with Mr. Bagelsworth.
Mr. Bagelsworth. We're here to talk about music. We're here to talk about an album. And the provider of the album this week is me. And we're going to be talking about an album. We're talking about an album from a group that was featured on an article I popped up and saw on a local, I guess formerly local paper that you would get for free at any college and things like that, and hit places.
Petey, I believe the word you're looking for is a zine.
Zine, but they more than that. But the Miami
Your
New
local.
Times,
Ours was called the Cleveland Scene.
It's like the Riverfront Times in St. Louis, or the Nouveau.
The Metro
like
Times.
hip newspaper.
Like
the Metro
used
Times.
to be.
Yeah.
The Metro Times here.
But the Miami New Times has an article now. They have a website and a bunch of really great articles. They have an article, a list of 10 Miami bands to watch for in 2021. I'll have it up in the show notes. A bunch of really cool artists I might pull from in the future. But one of them caught my attention. It's just kind of being like especially when the words Afro-Cuban and funk and avant-garde jazz pop
Pitbull.
into my head.
Awesome. We're doing Pitbull this week, right?
Again.
We're talking about a band, a group of musicians that have worked with Lauryn Hill, Nicholas Payton, a bunch of great artists. I believe one of them has worked with been one of the many people in Snarky Puppy.
Correct. I saw that too.
Yes. A bunch of really cool influences. Four gentlemen from the 305 right here, and featuring Nicholas Payton. We're talking about the Smoogies. Right here, the Smoogies and their album, Planet Smoogies. Let's talk about expectations. I'm curious. I'll start with Drew. Drew, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
I don't know if I had any expectations. You alluded to them being a jazzy outfit, so I was excited. But other than that, I really didn't have much to go on. I had never heard of these guys before. I had never heard of this band. Apparently they've been doing it for a while. Didn't know. So I was excited to get into it.
Well, they've been doing music for a while elsewhere. This is like the only Brett, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
I didn't even know. I remember you said the name of the band. I made the Fugees joke, and then Drew was like, "There's a white guy," and that was where I left all of my. There was a white guy, and that's where I left it.
Playing bass in the jazz group.
Hey, not since our friend Tuba Gooding Jr. and Questlove have we had the juxtaposition of the white guy laying down the funk, but.
Yeah.
I've been talking about Jamiroquai for years on this podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, but we haven't. Well, we do. We need to go virtually insane one of these days. But no. I had no clue. Like, even if Petey had the ability to describe what this music was, he probably couldn't do it properly. That's the fun thing, because it's kind of this is a new thing for me to describe. So like, yeah, but like this, I don't even know how I'd tell somebody, hey, it's one of these. No, you kind of have to come into this like open-minded.
Yeah. David, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
Also, our very own Drew is a bass player. My expectations, Petey, were...
I'm not a good one.
I said you were a bass player. A bass player. You filled in the rest yourself. Petey, my expectations were something in a language that I didn't understand, and usually involving some dance sequences, high-budget music videos, a slew of comments from children who can't handle the tiniest bit of criticism about their favorites, and things that I may or may not enjoy, depending on my mood or how my medication is acting at any given time. Those are the things that I normally expect with an album coming from Petey Rave for the Record Breakers podcast.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about this album musically. it is an odd thing to try to explain music, especially from me. The funk there, the Afro-Cuban influences are there. The jazz influences are there. It's built around because the group is it's keys, bass, it's keys, bass, drums and percussion, with a guest trumpetist. It's built around the keyboard. It's like keyboard, bass, and jazz, and it does it really well. And it has different moods. It brings in a lot of different influences, several different like soundscapes with the keyboard. It's
sometimes at the same time.
You get it goes in wild places, and it's definitely like you can feel like it's a bunch of really good musicians just playing around, doing like wild jazz stuff. It all plays well. The bass is, we talk about like the bass work. The bass work is really cool and solid, and it stands out when it needs to, and it kind of just it blends well with the keyboards when it needs to. The keyboards are fun and weird and playful. The trumpet work comes in and just like shows up, rocks the world, and then makes it exciting. Like it is really really fun. It's well played. It's well paced. It does have some lengthy tracks in there. There's only 7 tracks, but it's like you got one of them is like 9 minutes. A few of them are 6 minutes. I think the shortest one is 5 minutes and 23. No, 4 minutes. Shortest one is like 4.5 minutes. But that's like most of them are.
How did you enjoy those vocals, Petey?
We'll talk about the vocals when we talk about key tracks, but like you have different experiments and different playing around with different sounds, and like the keyboards are just like the big thing. Like the playing around with the different keyboard sounds is just fantastic. I'm gonna leave it to you guys to to try your best to explain it, but Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
Not easily. One, the musicianship in this band is incredible. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn there. It's amazing. The trumpet, the fact that it was a guest trumpet, I never would have guessed that he was a guest trumpet. I was expecting some good bass work. Jazz always has it. I was not expecting the keys to be as amazing as they were. There was every part of vibe and groove that you want. It's what I want out of like modern instrumental jazz. There's a part in this, and I will allude to it later on, where I was reminded of an album that was a super group of 3 bassists that made a cool sort of jazzy thing together. And it wasn't just all bass. That it reminded me of at parts. I have not, I think, dug a PD album. I don't think a PD album has gotten as many plays as this one did from me since Bad Rabbits. I'm bringing Bad Rabbits into this. That should tell you sort of what I think. There was something about this that just, the melding of the minds here is perfect, and I want to hear more. So,
Brett, how would you describe the song musically?
I mean, if you're into like, keyboards and keyboard jazz, this does a lot of different kinds of that. It's you've got like your organ funk. You have your synths, but you have like those slightly overdriven electric pianos that you associate with like a Stevie Wonder or like a more like funky 70s thing. You have the straight up electric piano that you would hear, let's say, on the theme tune from Taxi. It shows up. You have that same 70s sound, but you have like a keyboard that sounds more like something that Prince would use in the late 80s, or like something that Sonic the Hedgehog would be like running around selling you stuff, and like a Sega arcade in, like, all at the same time. Like there are a lot of like mixing of different sounds. There's also some straight up like donate today at your local NPR station and we'll send you a free tote bag. There's some of that, which is a definite kind of jazz. I brought the Flectones. Like a million public radio stations have been kept alive because of the Flectones. With their help. But it's very much depending on the groove. The songs are groove focused, and they sit and hang out there. Like these songs are long. They take their time. I also read on allaboutjazz.com that this is a self-produced album. So like I noticed a few times where the mixing was interesting, not bad, not good, but interesting. Especially when you have so much digital stuff, and then all of a sudden you have like a very, very mouthy horn. It is very. Some would say it's one of the most horned albums that we've brought in a while.
Can we say that on Twitch?
It is like
It's an education.
it is in the mix in a way that like it makes sense because you're neat, but it gives it like I'm standing in a room where a guy's playing a trumpet, and it's just not as loud as that. I'm next to the world's quietest trumpet player, but I'm hearing the mouth in a way. It's there's a way that they recorded this that was neat. It worked and made it feel a little less digital.
Yeah. David, how would you describe the sound musically?
I would describe this album as one where everything works really well. The guys playing and composing these songs are all very good at what they're doing, and they're all very good at bringing their influences in. You hear jazz, you even hear elements of 80s and early 90s adult contemporary R&B, sort of the Quiet Storm vibes in various parts of this album. And the entire package is definitely at one specific frequency. If you are in the right mood for that frequency, this is going to be an exceptional album for you, because it is all very well played. It is very solid, enjoyable, almost, dare I say, smooth jazz. but in a good way. And it is very much a vibe, as Drew said, and it is a vibe throughout the entire album. And when I get to my key tracks, I'll explain how I feel about the vibe of this entire album.
Yeah, with zeroing on key tracks, and you start the key tracks. You start with the opener, "Pay Up," and you start with a 9-minute opener that does a fantastic job of just kind of establishing everything that you're going to be expecting from this album, and I think doesn't overstay its welcome, even though it is 9 minutes long. It just kind of like gets you in that groove and keeps you there really well. Blender Spaceship. Let's just go ahead and talk about that vocoder.
It is featured on the album art.
Yes, the vocoder is fantastic. It's fun to listen to. It was, just take you right on my spaceship. It takes you back to some sounds, but it fits right in with the feel of the song, and everything is laid around it really well. And then you go to like Panera Bounce. I don't know that Panera had a bounce, but it looks like it. I like how the trumpet trickles in. There's like, it's mostly the keyboard focus in the song, and then the trumpet kind of like peeks its head in and trickles in and goes in and then like comes in and just like blows your mind. Like, it just like takes over and kind of blows your mind. Yeah, there's a lot of moments in a lot of the tracks, but I would say like there's only 7 tracks, so I want to go through every track, but like those are kind of the highlights, and it ends with the highlight with Trapanova being kind of like they just did reprises a theme early in the album to begin with, and then kind of like goes into its own little fun trip. But yeah, Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, to me, if I can name 3, Pay Up, 9 minutes of just everything being well thought out and perfect and sort of in its place in a way that, like, you sometimes don't get from, like, in my opinion, you don't get from, like, this form of jazz. Oh, there's a cat that's trying to get back in my lap. Scared me a little bit. Blender Spaceship, that groove in this one, I don't think I've ever heard a trumpet be this smooth. This is what I was talking about when, like, there was a vibe on this that reminded me of SMV a lot. Like, the tone of it and the feel of it and sort of how it played. Obviously not having multiple bass players, because there wasn't. But just the tone of it and the feel of it very much did. And then Panera Bounce. Panera Bounce is the best parts, in my opinion, of like Sega menu music from a time. Specifically the Saturn Dreamcast time. There was some
when Japan found house music.
There was some. Sega is responsible for a lot of really great video game music.
I was actually having a conversation about Sega earlier today with relatively famous internet content creator here. No name dropping, but along with the music and just how they had so much tech and good ideas that just flopped, including the Saturn and all of its great 2D games with great music.
Man, if the Saturn, like, but there was also, I went back. If we're also on the subject of Sega, I will say, for Giant Bomb fans in the audience, I went back and listened to some Target Earth music. That music was also good. Dwyer and Gerstmann are not wrong. I haven't played the game, cannot speak on that. The music is good. I will say that. But no, it was Panera Bounce was like felt like that menu music in the good ways and not like the bad repetitive ways. So
yeah. Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Colorful Himalayas. I mean, it starts with like a minute of the drums. Just who's gonna have a minute of drums? There you go. And then you get your fusion jazz NPR fundraiser background music. You know, they only get a small portion of their funding from the government. Now, they're just like a banjo and a harmonica from a Flecktone. I love a good pitch wheel keyboard solo. You know, like bend those notes. Like Beethoven couldn't do that. Panera Bounce. In Missouri, it's called the St. Louis Bread Company. A bounce. The bass was very exceptional. And I do like the way that the trumpet was mixed in. It is very, very in your face. Trap Nova. There's an electric piano solo that I was pretty happy with because that is the tone that you might hear, let's say, on the theme to Taxi. But jazzing in a completely different way, more of like a contemporary way that you would like. It also like it's a lot of runs, a lot of like. Okay, so when it's a lot of runs. And when the piano's doing the solos, or the keyboard's soloing, there's like a lot of single notes hit in a run, and a chord thrown in here and there, which leads me to believe it's very guitar soloish. It also is something that a guitar player could totally steal every little bit of, because you know. The piano is unlike you got to think like some instruments you only play like one note at a time. A piano you can play a guitar and a bass at the same time. But it is kind of I liked kind of sitting and picking through like, okay, there were choices made here on how these solos were written. But they go places like a modern contemporary jazz guitar solo would go, which is not always the most listenable. It's not something I'd be like, hey grandma, listen to this rip. But it is.
What does your grandma enjoy, Brett?
My grandmother is a big fan of bluegrass. Like grab the tater bug and the fiddle, and a little bile and cabbage, and get that good old Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
But no, I would say the Trap Nova is definitely like this album does a good job of staying like groovy and like something you can like keep your head bobbing to. But when you start going on like going free verse on people in the jazz way, a lot of times people have trouble with jazz with horns that just goes absurd honking everywhere, because it's hard to follow and doesn't sound musical. There is a dash of that here. And if that scares you off, like it might be a bit much, but it mostly did a really good job making this listenable, and Trap Nova is right on the edge.
Yeah. On the edge.
And it's about to break.
Yes. David, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Blender Spaceship. This is where the album really kind of kicked in for me. I really enjoyed the lead trumpet and the synth that immediately followed it. I thought that was a really well done transition between what are normally two lead instruments. It's really well done and really well composed. Those musicians did that really well together. Colorful Himalayas. I think that this entire track is a NPR background song, but in the best way possible. And I think that the synths that went into the end of the song were very tasteful, and I think it was really well done. That is the key word that I would use for a lot of this album. It was all very tasteful, and those are my two main tracks, Blender Spaceship and Colorful Himalayas.
Yeah, let's bring it back around the horn. Let's talk about some conclusive thoughts. Drew, what will be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
It's something where this is exactly like I loved this album. Like I don't think there was any part of this album that I did not enjoy, whether I was like actively listening, whether I had it on while I was working. Like this album, like one being instrumental, helps with the working bit. But it was very, very well put together, very smart. Um, and the musicianship was great. Like there's not much else I can add to that. This album came out last year. I would like to hear more from them as a group. Um, apparently one of them was in Snarky Puppy.
Yes.
So there's some
Pretty sure I
connection
was
there.
a Snarky Puppy though, but that's neither here nor there.
Everybody can jazz. But that said, I'm interested to hear more from them as a group because I think they fit well together and it was fun.
Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I mean, if you're into jazz or keyboards or, music that isn't going to give you no ballads, no words here there's no story here. There's no Mr. Brownstone talking to you. There's none of that. You got to be here for the music. And if you can do that, it's pretty fun. Is it for everyone? No. But I enjoyed it. That's all that matters. Yeah. And then I got to I wrote a haiku that I'm pretty proud of. So I'm going to hype my haiku up early so that after this commercial break, you'll come back.
Yes. David, what is your conclusion on this album as a whole?
This was a very enjoyable musical experience. But I owe the Smoogies an apology because I did not give them the attention that they deserved. Thanks to my free trial of SiriusXM, and because I've been spending more time in the gym lately, and because my medication got adjusted, I've been listening to a lot more metal lately, and the Smoogies really just did not match the vibe I've been in lately. This was a very good, very well played album. It did not go over the top into uncomfortable jazz territory at any point. The R&B influences really gave it a good foundation and kept it grounded. And it kept it in a very chill place that I think is kind of universally enjoyable. There isn't a whole lot of frenetic jazz woobly-woobly. And I think this is something that can really help them break through to be bigger than what they are. The songs make sense. There are moments where they allow themselves to have fun, but everything is composed and makes sense. This is a fantastic, really enjoyable album that I will recommend to anyone that needs something to put on while you're drawing or while you're relaxing on a Saturday afternoon. Probably not something you want to have on your headphones at the gym. Probably not something you want when it's 3 a.m. and your brain chemistry is a little out of whack.
I was flying over Monaco towards Nice in Flight Simulator. That was perfect for this album.
Oh, yeah,
not
definitely.
flying not from doing a combat sim.
No. But yeah, very enjoyable album, very chill album, this is the best kind of background music. This is something that you look forward to having in the background. It's the kind of music you want playing when you're having guests and you're entertaining an evening dinner party, if you will. And then break out with wine. Yeah.
Fine, what? I can't do the
Little Zinfandel, if you
Yes,
will.
that-
Petey
that's-
Rave, yes.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this a lot.
Yes. Yeah, this is just a solid, enjoyable, fantastic jazz album that uh brings in a lot of different sounds. Like this is like the R&B, the funk, like the Afro-Cuban influences. The the it does some fun, creative things, but doesn't lose the groove. These guys are just immensely talented. I think they like several of them are available to teach you how to play instruments. I believe. They're instructors as well. Um, this is a great showcase of that great of what they could do as a collective and what they could do in even having somebody talented as Nicholas Payton is here on the trumpet adds so much to it, and it's just a fantastic complete a little like jazz experience, and I enjoy that I get to showcase something this cool from my hometown, from the 305. Yeah, from the county of Dade. And I'm glad to be able to showcase them. I might showcase one of these artists on this list and other locations.
Cowards and Broward get sprayed in Dade.
Yes. But yeah, this is a really cool, groovy, engaging, fun album that I think people should check out. People should enjoy.
Probably not at the gym.
Probably
just throwing that out there.
Yeah, depending on who you are.
You can get some. You can get your boogie shake on.
You can do your yoga to it, maybe.
Syncopated running.
Yeah. Yeah, those are our thoughts on the Smoogies. Now we get to the main event of the evening. The one we've all been waiting for. The haiku reviews. We hit them over with the 575. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haiku numero uno. Drew, what is your haiku?
Petey Land jazz tunes. Bass for days and perfect keys. Great on horns and drums.
Brett, what is your haiku?
Fun and funky fresh, featuring folks from Florida. Fabulous fusion.
David, what is your haiku?
Florida?
Yes, there's a hyphen.
Jazz, R&B vibes. Subdued, tasteful, and well played. No adrenaline.
And then my haiku. Funky jazz music, Miami dudes with talent, and the cred to match. Those are our thoughts on the Smoogies, Planet Smoogies. You can of course find it on our Spotify playlist, and also you can pick it up on their Bandcamp, which I'll also have linked on the show notes. If you want to pick up a copy for yourself of a physical album as well. I believe they also have some merch, and they have it on CD. You can get a tote bag. You can get it on vinyl. Fantastic stuff. Of course, it's on our Spotify playlist, and on that Spotify playlist is also going to be next week's album, and that is provided by David. David, what have you got for us next week?
What I want to bring isn't out yet, so I'm going to bring in my backup. This is an album by an artist by the name of Cautious Clay. It has been a critically praised album that came out very recently. It is called Deadpan Love. Cautious Clay, Deadpan Love.
So go ahead and check that out on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers, the home game. Do your due diligence and your due diligence. Follow along at home. Do your homework.
Don't say it like that, guys. Do your homework.
Do your homework. Yeah, follow along with us at home on both Spotify playlists. They're available with and without episodes, all linked in the show notes. But that's it for us. Thank you for hanging out with us. And of course, you can find us all over the internet. David is at Call Me DJM. Brett is at HibbittyBirbird, HIBBITYBIBBRD. Drew is at X2X. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelly.net for listening to other shows. Rebelly TV on YouTube and on Twitch. Follow the channel there. We stream on Twitch at least 4 times a week. Situations permitting. We do D&D with through the Tomes on Tuesdays. This show, Record Breakers, on Wednesdays, live every week. We do Space Trucking on Thursdays, where Brett, Daisy, and I play Starbound. That really wonderful dead game that we absolutely enjoy and don't care that it is dead. It is still fun. And of course, I do Petey Plays Fridays, where I do like my Let's Play weekly thing. Right now, I'm still playing Mass Effect. But who knows what I'm doing in the future if you're watching way in the future. But be sure to check out the schedule on the Twitch page, and I'll try to post it frequently on my own social media, the Petey Rave and things like that. But yeah, follow, like, share, do all the things, all the calls to action. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Rebelly Podcast, baby.
I looked it up. This dude's from my neck of the woods.
You say clashes clay, I say butter. Say parquet.
Lemonade was a popsicle.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Yeah. All right.
Is that still a thing?